hot sun never knew. Yeah. Won't you pinch me? I've been dreaming here for far too long. Wide awake, we're sharing in this morning view. Ask you if you wanna laugh some more. You tell me that you do. I'll raise you up before we fall. When I say that you can count on me, it's true. But it seems to me that I can count on you. What are you waiting for? Waiting for? Waiting for?
All right, welcome in everyone to the three-digit World Cup semifinals. Once again, we are here with a pretty early matchup in the day between South Korea and Indonesia. This is also one of our two winners bracket semifinals matchups this weekend. Definitely going to be a good one. My name is Dio. It's going to be me and Mavs again for this cast. Good morning, Mavs. Good morning.
Yo, good morning. Having a good morning, Dio. You ready to go?
I am not having a good morning, but I'm here anyway. Here we are.
We're here anyway for a winners bracket matchup this time. So exciting one. Semi-finals winner bracket matchup. So we've only got one other winner bracket matchup this weekend, and this is a good one. South Korea, Indonesia. I think probably two teams that are pretty damn strong on paper, but I would honestly say two teams I didn't expect to maybe be in the winner bracket at this stage. Like some of the other teams I maybe would have expected to see up here, maybe China, teams like of those sorts, maybe a team like Australia, but we are going to be seeing Indonesia, SK, and still really strong teams nonetheless, and they've been performing really well.
Yeah, these two teams have had kind of a really solid run through the winners bracket so far. It's been a lot of upsets for both of these teams in the bracket, with South Korea being seed number 11 out of qualifiers, upsetting Australia round of 16, and then beating Sweden, who had also upset Countryless West in the quarterfinals. Now up against Indonesia, who managed to upset Germany in the quarterfinals in a tiebreaker match. So very, very close match between those two teams. And I think a match that probably put into a lot of people's minds that this squad in particular from Indonesia is actually very, very strong this year and is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think Indonesia they've just been stepping up their game. Like these past couple years, especially last OWC, like their roster, or just their rosters in general in a lot of these World Cups, they're starting to look really insane. And like, I expect a really big showing from them this year in OWC as well, but their 3WC roster alike, not going to slack. They've got OWC players on this roster, of course. And I don't know, they're just underdogs. I feel like Indonesia always just kind of overlooked rather. And yeah, like actually a demon team, like very, very scary.
With that in mind, we can talk a little bit about the previous weekend and how they both played. As I have just rolled out of bed, I haven't had a fantastic chance to look at how both teams scored last weekend. But when you do look at some of these scores that were put up, it's not really a surprise that Indonesia was able to come out on top against Germany. They had really, really solid scores basically across the board. I think the worst placement they had was number 7 out of 14 on Free Mod 1. But other than that, all of their maps were, top 3 in terms of how they performed against all other teams in the tournament, which is crazy to think about. There's very, very solid stuff from them.
Yeah, I've had a little look at the MP links earlier, and interesting to note as well with that match against Germany, Indonesia versus Germany, is Indonesia starting off really strong in that match and actually Germany almost reverse sweeping them. So that was a bit scary for Indonesia, but managing to close it out on the tiebreaker, of course. And looking at the scores from maps that both Indonesia and South Korea played in their matches last week, it's a lot of back and forth. There's a couple maps here where, you know, Indonesia are kind of leading by about 300 to 400k, and then a couple maps where SK are kind of leading by 300 to 400k. So something to take note of, and probably something that's going to influence a lot of these picks, I think, this weekend. Anyway, that's going to be our bans going out. We're going to have the double Hard Rock ban on the side of Indonesia, and South Korea taking out that Hidden 1 and Hidden 3, so double Hidden ban on the side of South Korea. So we know what players are trying to avoid, as clear cut as it gets, and Indonesia going for that first pick on our DT3. Which is, I mean, expected.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit interesting, the two bans that we did see from them. I think the hidden bans from South Korea make a lot of sense. Indonesia, #1 on Hidden 1 last weekend, #1 on Hidden 3 last weekend. You really just generally don't want to play them on those two maps. But I think the Hard Rock bans from Indonesia are a little interesting just because South Korea had almost the worst score on Hard Rock 3 last weekend. This is really not that much of a Hard Rock team. So Indonesia just kind of saying, yeah, we just don't want to bother with the Hard Rock at all. We're way better at literally everything else. And we just don't want to even give you the ability to pick it right now. Speaking of which, going to be going with Double Time 3 as their first pick. These DT3s, pretty much all tournament long, have been a focus on super high BPM old map DT. This one 280 BPM or so, and AR8 before double time. So basically an alt map, but in terms of the single taps, the burst requirement in this map is certainly there. Lots of consecutive bursts, especially in the KI times.
Yeah, I think the DTs and the speed abuse is something we're going to see come out of Indonesia. It's really just how their teams go at OWC and 3WC alike, and they're just a very, very strong speed country. And against a team like South Korea that isn't lacking on speed by any means, it's just Indonesia's strong suit. So this is something I expect to see from them for the majority of this match, and probably looking at things like DT5, maybe DT2 as well, for their picks.
All right, that's going to take us into our first map here. Rexy's, Delon, and Fuma on the side of Indonesia for this pick. Doomsday Fanboy, Spectre, and Tofunim in for South Korea on this map. Not a ton to say about this first pick other than if players can hit the KI times, if they can keep their scores together during bursts, then they will generally end up on top of this map. And I think as an early consistency pick for Indonesia, something like this where there's very little room for misaim error on this kind of map is a pretty solid map to go with.
Ooh, and that's actually going to be Tofu getting the first drop of the lobby there on the side of South Korea, and Indonesia holding on to a strong three-way. My eyes personally are going to be on Doomsday Fanboy on the side of South Korea for pretty much this whole match today. He really has just been putting up very solid carry performances for this country, especially in this tournament. Tofu again going to be getting his second break. Everyone else holding on, looking pretty comfortable on what is a pretty damn long DT map. Wow, we're not even halfway through on this DT3.
No further misaims from anyone else now. Into the halfway point here, the second KI time. Delon finding a break there right before it starts up. That is not going to be good for Indonesia's score overall. Tofunim does match the break, however, so South Korea not going to have any combo advantage going out of this second KI. Rexy's, however, does break as well for Indonesia, and that is going to give a pretty massive combo lead over to South Korea. Kind of luckily for Indonesia here, Spectre's accuracy down at 88% right now, so that full combo is not adding nearly as much as it would otherwise. And it is going to make that combo advantage much less impactful, but it's still there. Oh, never mind. It is not still there. Okay.
It is gone. Yeah, I mean, there was a chance there for South Korea with that 2-way FC, and, you know, up against the 1, but like you mentioned, with that accuracy from Spectre, I don't know how big his score really would have been. Regardless, he's going to be dropping his FC, and we're now 1-1. Fuma versus Doomsday Fanboy, and a very slight combo advantage for South Korea, but I think too big of a score lead now for Indonesia for it to matter, but maybe not with that drop from Fuma. Have we got enough map left here for Doomsday Fanboy to make the difference?
As just a little sliver of map here at the end. Doomsday Fanboy, though, does have probably 250k left in the tank. I don't think that's going to be enough with the extra combo on Delon. Just not going to happen with this small remainder of map left, especially not with a miss there. But, you know, even up at 1.2 million score for Doomsday Fanboy, excuse me, it still would have barely been enough. So he would have had to SS to take that point, basically. Not going to happen within that last sliver of map. So early point to Indonesia, 1-0 off their first pick.
And I wasn't really noticing, honestly, that map, how much Tofinem was actually struggling with that. And I mean, he's going to be getting the C rank in comparison to Indonesia all getting pretty comfortable A ranks. So a little bit of third player syndrome there for South Korea. And that's something now that Indonesia can look at and go, hey, like South Korea, they don't really have a strong third for these later stage speed picks. And I mean, they're just going to be even more confident now going into those maps like No Mod 5, DT2. So that's a little scary for SK. I hope they've got something kind of in their own pocket. They can get some early points on. And as we see, they're going to be going straight into that No Mod 2. So it's going to be a very much needed point here for South Korea.
Yeah, I mean, South Korea here has, I think, gone into these No Mod 2s in past weeks and still had a very good time with them as well. Last weekend, they did play the No Mod 2 and did not have that great of a time with it, however, against Sweden. So feeling confident on this one, I suppose, up against Indonesia. And they do have a pretty good lineup for it. Doomsday Fanboy, Spectre, and Worst Hard Rock player in on this map. Go ahead and talk about the lineups in general here. Those three players and Gusrua, Payne, and Tofinem make up the South Korean roster for this team. On the side of Indonesia, right now we have that noob guy, Delon and Fuma, in for this map. Prez, Vito, and Rexy is the other three players for that roster. So I think a good decision to have these three players in for No Mod 2 on the side of Indonesia. South Korea with some pretty solid flow aim and stream players on their side regardless. I think like you called out earlier, Mavs Doomsday Fanboy probably going to be in for the vast majority of these picks, is just basically going to be in for everything. We have two separate players playing two different maps right now. This is advanced trolling. Advanced trolling right
maps.
now from Bancho.
3 maps at once here. Here we go. Oh, this is probably Bancho.
Yes.
I'm gonna assume.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, still the 6-way, of course.
Okay, that was not Bancho, though. Doomsday Fanboy finding an early miss-aim on one of the jumps after that first stream section. Maybe the stamina strain forcing a miss-aim out of him. You never know exactly what goes on there, or whether it was just a random miss-aim, but all the while going to have about a 250 combo lead over to Indonesia.
Yeah, that's... Oh, I was going to say a bit of a tragic drop for Doomsday Fanboy, because this map doesn't really start to pick up for a little while. And, I mean, you could say there's about as far as free combo goes in this map. A lot of it is at the very start of this map. Just very stamina intensive, but not super aim intensive until a little later on. But that drop from Delon is going to knock things back over into the favor of South Korea. So Doomsday Fanboy recovering well now. Only 250 combo behind that FC.
saw this played in the first match yesterday. Very easy to miss-aim some of these streams later on to the map as spacing starts to take over for cornering as the main source of flow aim strain in this map. Nobody really missing on these 1/3 so far, though. This 1/3 section, one of the places where the spacing can increase at some points and where the corners actually stick around as well. So if you are not ready for some of those sections, then you may have a tough time with this part of the map. Doesn't look like anybody has too much issue with the Axel. Oh, that noob guy, as the section's just about to finish, finds a miss on the last corner there, the 1/3. And that is now big combo lead over to South Korea. A full combo advantage plus the 1K supporting combo on Doomsday Fanboy. Just massive combo lead overall.
The WTF coming out from that noob guy. Yeah, I mean, I would have been impressed if no one missed on those 1/3. They look brutal, especially with the amount of FC still in the lobby. Like, you got to be nervous on those. And I mean, they're always just the parts that are the easiest to miss on. Almost everybody getting through them. Just that noob guy going to be getting the break on the very last corner on the 1/3 section. So he's going to be spewing at that one. South Korea now going to be getting the flicker, taking the lead. Very good recovery from Doomsday Fanboy, but Spectre now actually dropping his FC, and it's flickering back and forth.
Yeah, big chain miss for Spectre, actually.
I mean, combos like combos are about matched right now, and I think that's why we're seeing this flicker. I think combo, it's pretty much identical.
The accuracy on worst HR player actually is making a big difference right now. 94% for him, by far the worst stack in the lobby, but there goes Fuma's full combo with a chain miss. And I think at this point, the accuracy doesn't matter from worst HR player. Doomsday Fanboy should be here to carry the torch into the finish line against Delon. And yeah, gonna be able to hold through that last big space stream there for Doomsday Fanboy. That'll secure the point for South Korea. Relatively close one there at the end, but does still end up going over and tying it up 1-1.
Yeah, that was getting very scary for SK towards the end of that map there. But a very good recovery from Doomsday Fanboy nonetheless. And I mean, a tactical miss early, I think, as some would say. Shaking the nerves out with that early miss, getting a reverse choke. Nice 800k score from him. Delon as well. Delon and Fuma both with huge combos on the side of Indonesia. I mean, almost every player in that lobby getting a pretty huge combo. Really only think there was one player on the side of Indonesia that wasn't quite up to par with the rest of the players, but very impressive stuff. I'm glad SK got that pick. I want to see this go the whole way, so I was a bit scared with a lot of these speared picks coming out from Indonesia that they could easily run away with this match. So it is very important, I think, that SK get their picks, especially their early ones. So I'm glad to see that they were able to close out the Nomad 2.
Yeah, always good to see the teams on either side be able to close out their early picks. It does usually make for more competitive matches when that starts to happen early on. Both of these first picks, however, relatively close. I mean, not a lot of difference in the score on either of these picks. 174k on DC3 and 130k here on Nomad 2. So both of these teams pretty evenly matched out of the gate, even if they are just trading their picks at the moment. Looking for eventually a hidden pick by Indonesia and a hard rock pick by South Korea. And there is that hidden pick from Indonesia. You kind of have to expect it after the double ban on hidden from South Korea and the double ban on hard rock from Indonesia. Players like Krez being on the side of Indonesia really makes this hidden 2 all the more attractive.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Krez play. Krez on these hiddens is unbelievable. I'm very excited to see him come in from this for this one. Obviously, the only hidden map left in the pool. And a pretty cool one at that. Very kind of ulty gimmicky, sort of alt-focused hidden 2 map.
Yeah, kind of an alt-tech hybrid, right? You've got a lot of the high-spacing flow-aim stuff that you get in like almost Setia-style alt maps at 160 BPM. A little bit more standard in terms of the aim control on this sort of map, but then you've got a lot of difficult sliders to read and to follow on this map. So you do have a bit of that kind of standard fusion going on that you expect from a song like this, right? Very, very good, I think, for both Krez and Dito. I'm not familiar with how well that noob guy plays maps like this, but if he is in over the other members here, he must be very, very solid on them. Being in on this map over people like Fuma and Rexys is definitely a vouch in and of itself. Gasrua,
Yeah.
Spectre, and worst HR player in meanwhile for South Korea.
Interestingly, for South Korea, Doomsday Fanboy actually stepping out, which is, I mean, maybe not too comfortable on the hidden picks, but, you know, a staple for this South Korean 3WC team. We are going to see him stepping out, and it's not very often you see him step out. So Gasrua coming in his place.
All right, we should be getting into it pretty shortly here. Mods are good now for either side. We have the hidden enabled, so I'm going to be looking forward to seeing some of the players you don't see quite as often in for either of these teams. That new guy and Gasrua, respectively, I think. Some of the players you don't see quite as often for either of these teams. Even with Krez, with both hidden stand out here, you still see him on some of the other, you know, flow aim focused or gimmicky maps that he tends to be very, very good on. So we'll end up seeing him, I think, a little bit more throughout this match. But for now, we're going to be getting into Hidden 2 between these two teams. Really, really tricky flow aim tech hybrid sort of map.
Yeah, this is kind of scary for South Korea because, I mean, of course, Indonesia were always going to pick this, but South Korea actually playing the Hidden 2 last weekend and coming 8th out of the 12 teams that played it with a score of 1.8 million, which, I mean, it's not a bad score, but a lot of the bottom scores on that map last week were around 1.8 million. So, I mean, they're really going to have to step up their performance, and it's going to be difficult, especially on a Hidden 2 that is going to be a lot harder than last week's. We're already going to see an early break there from Spectre on the side of South Korea, but Dito matching it. Prez noob guy as well. Everyone gone on Indonesia. Gizuro as well. It's just worst hardware player with the only combo in the whole lobby, and we're almost about a third of the way through the map already.
One thing to note, the score still on the side of Indonesia. The accuracy lead really doing numbers for them as Spectre and Gasrua down at 95, 94% accuracy right now. Worst HR player on the FC, crucially, with good AC. But those extra scores coming out of the accuracy for Indonesia are enough to still keep this on their side, even with the FC on worst HR player, just because of the earlier combo breaks from Gasrua and Spectre, plus that last break from Gasrua, I think, really throwing it over to Indonesia at the moment.
Yeah, that break from Gasrua is going to, I mean, that's going to do leaps and bounds for Indonesia, because when you've got low accuracy like that, you need to hold a combo. And speaking of holding combos, worst hard rock player is not going to do so. There goes his FC, and now Indonesia with a huge recovery, 3 500 combos on the board, and that's a full reset for South Korea. Oh, everyone is just gone.
Yeah, this part of the map is hard. The spacing in this part
is
is a little ridiculous. Everybody resets because of that. But already a 200,000 score lead for Indonesia, and they managed to keep the combo together more so during this part. You can see the sole reason they're winning this is because basically all three of their members are comfortable on this pick. Worst HR player right now with still the highest score in the lobby, but not going to be nearly enough to pull out a solo carry performance on this pick.
A heroic performance from worst HR player, but alas, still not enough. The top scorer in the lobby, but not too far ahead of all three players on the side of Indonesia. Krez there top scoring for Indonesia, and actually with the one miss. So that is extremely impressive stuff, especially with some of those patterns at the end there. That looks ridiculous to not get, a few misses here and there on a couple chain misses, but the one miss and the 98% coming out from Krez. So very, very impressive from him. And Indonesia, I mean, they just overall looked way more consistent on that map. And I think that's what we expected, and it was definitely clear to see.
Then a little interesting that immediately after that map, South Korea goes for Nomad 4. This is the tech map in Nomad Crave, mapped by Alex1. This map, 192 BPM, really kind of doesn't really do one sort of thing that tech maps do. I think if anything, you could say that it's a little forgiving on a lot of the sliders compared to a lot of other tech maps that you see in modern tournaments where the slider aim and slider shapes are the main draw of the map. I think a lot of this is more so reminiscent of some of the like Real Lazy era tech maps that you get in 2018, 2019. You do still have a lot of that slider aim component, especially near the beginning and the end, but the middle of this map in particular, very, very focused on cut streams, flow aim, and finger control. So a little interesting to pick this up right after that Hidden 2 for South Korea. But again, you take off Hidden and suddenly Doomsday Fanboy is back in the lobby. And so, their players are generally just more comfortable without that mod. They know Indonesia is very good at it, and that's why it is double banned. So anything outside that mod is going to be more comfortable for South Korea.
Yeah, I mean, this is still really interesting. I mean, it's an interesting pick, like, so early. Like, I'm surprised to see South Korea's second pick this. I could have maybe, I could have predicted them picking this maybe much later into the match, maybe 4th, 5th pick. But to see it come out second, especially when both SK and Indonesia played the No Mod 4 last week, and Indonesia won that by almost 300k over South Korea. So, I mean, maybe it's the difference of the No Mod 4s here that's gonna maybe Korea's feeling really comfortable on this one specifically. They got some good scores on the sheet. Like, hey, we feel good on this. Let's do it. Like, we're pretty confident we can get maybe an FC. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see how it goes for them. But Indonesia, they're no slack on these tech maps.
Yeah, early drop for Versus Hard Rock players, going to give over a bit of early combo to Indonesia as well. Hey, look at the accuracy for a lot of these Indonesian players, all 98, 99. Dito finally dropping the combo and the act down below 98, along with that noob guy. Spectre matching the combo drop, though, from the side of South Korea. So there's 2 full combos to 1 right now in the favor of Indonesia on this pick from SK. And not looking the best there, but Krez and that noob guy both resetting on the cut streams. Definitely favors South Korea on this one. Doomsday Fanboy poised to carry at the moment.
Oh yeah, that is huge for South Korea. I mean, this is looking like a little bit of a No Mod 2 treatment here from South Korea. Perhaps why they were feeling so comfortable in this No Mod 4. Very, very cut streamy map. I mean, just that stream comfort really shining as they get through all those cut streams. Doomsday Fanboy in a very impressive accuracy, almost sitting at that 99. And with those chain misses from Krez, a little bit of accuracy deficit now. The South Korea actually are sitting with the accuracy advantage for one of the first times in this match.
Oh, finally the drop there from Doomsday Fanboy comes through. I think that does actually give combo lead over to Indonesia. There's 100 combo up for worst hard rock player on Dito, and about 100 combo up for Spectre on that noob guy, but Krez still has around a 500 combo at the moment compared to Doomsday Fanboy's 200 combo. And so it is an ever so slight combo lead for Indonesia. If they do manage to hold all the way through the ending, they may be able to take this, especially with that break from Spectre now. That slider break here going into the ending, really crucial for Indonesia in particular. Are they going to be able to hold through to the ending? Worst hard rock player drops also.
This is going to go, especially with those 2 breaks. Spectre and worst hard rock player are gone.
It's like one note at a
take this in the slow section. No way!
Creeping over at the end, man. Just barely enough map left, but it's 13k for Indonesia at the end of that map. Not even 13k, 12k at the end of the map for Indonesia, just because all 3 of their members managed to hold all the way into the ending. Extremely close map.
Oh man, if Spectre and worst hard rock player had held on, it would have been enough. They just couldn't close. Indonesia closed. And that's a bummer to see, to be honest. Like, that was SK's pick, and I mean, Indonesia now, I'm struggling to see a world where they don't just pick like a speed map here and just take it. It's going to be tough for SK. Like, they really need to get a break point on this board, because I mean, a 4-1 is not a scoreline you want to be looking at.
Yeah, I think after the DT3 start, you definitely have a case of fourth player syndrome kind of going on for South Korea on those speed picks. You maybe look at Nomad 5. That's really the other major speed pick in this map pool. Yeah. DT2 and DT4 are both really finger control focused maps that in our kind of unknown territory at this point in the matchup. So you want to go with something that you already know is a pretty solid pick. Nomad 5 fits the bill there if you are looking for speed. One other thing that you could go for that we haven't talked about so far is this Nomad 6, Tabi Toferi. A very, very tricky sort of map to play. And if memory serves, also a low approach rate pick. Yes, AR 8.4. Not quite as demon, I don't think, as something like the Hidden 3, which is banned out. But very similar skill set alongside being CS 5.5 with just really wacky stuff going on all throughout the map. Definitely an option for Indonesia at this point if they want to force South Korea into being uncomfortable on the map.
Yeah, I think if any team's going to pick that Nomad 6, it's probably going to be Indonesia. But I mean, looking at the MP links from last week, and neither of the teams playing the Nomad 6, so maybe leaning into some of those qualifier results, maybe those first round matches to kind of see the comfort levels. But I think it can almost be assumed with the status of some of these players. But I think that Nomad 6 would be really interesting to watch. We might see it come out later, but for the moment, it is going to be the Nomad 5, as we expected, coming out from Indonesia. And yeah, this is going to be a tough one for South Korea to break point. They're going to need a hero performance or two.
Yeah, Xenobeat by Gorshit, the Deathless difficulty. I believe this was in OWC 2020, 2 years ago, as the semi-finals Nomad 5, if memory serves. 235 DP, or 237 DPM, excuse me. Era 9.5, OD 8.8. It's a Gorship map, but it's fast. I don't know what else to say about it, because that's kind of the entire thing, right? Like, it is just 5-note and 7-note and 9-note bursts all over the place, and some triples in between, and a lot of jumps in between those, and quite a few buzz sliders here and there sprinkled throughout the map. So if you've played any Gorship map before, you know what this one plays like. The difference here, and the key difference between this one and a lot of the other maps of Gorship songs, is that this one is fairly relentless in how frequent the bursts are. A lot of other Gorship maps, kind of feel like aim maps with some bug sliders and bursts when you're playing them. Not this one. This is almost all bursts all the way through the map.
I mean, I hope these players are nice and warmed up, because that could be the deciding factor in a map like this. It's just pretty much just unrelenting the whole way through. It's exactly what you'd expect, like you said, from a Gorship map. And we're pretty much just going to see non-stop left-hand abuse as we get right into this one. Rexy's early on with a break. Actually, it was Client. Never mind.
Okay, Spectre and Gusrua early on with a break instead. And it wasn't Client. These are actual breaks. Yeah. They are not having a good time at the start of this map. Maybe some adjustment issues. Hopefully some adjustment issues rather than really that much trouble with the map overall.
Yeah, we're actually going to see Guzrio coming in for Tofinim, who was in on that DT3. So, obviously Tofinim not with the greatest performance on that one. So Guzrio coming in thinking, I can do alright on speed. Maybe he's feeling a bit more warmed up now and going to be sitting in for this one. And so far, doing pretty well with the 96%. But I mean, those accuracies on the side of Indonesia are unbelievable. Every single player sitting over 99 right now, and all on an FC as we're about a quarter way through the map. But there goes that noob guy. He's gone for the side of Indonesia, and South Korea now actually with a very slight combo advantage by about 200 to 300, but not anymore with that break from Spectre.
Yeah, Gusrua finding another break as well. It's just Doomsday Fanboy really holding on to solid combo for South Korea, and he's gone too. Okay, well, yeah, 3-way reset for South Korea. We are already looking at 250k and climbing for Indonesia with the double full combo still intact on Fuma and Rexy's rest of the lobby really doesn't matter. As long as they still have those FCs, there's not much that South Korea can do. There go the FCs. There's barely any combo on South Korea, though. It's just on Spectre, and that's gone as well. Yeah, I mean, these repeated resets from South Korea really just showing off how brutal the map is, and not going to be able to find, I think, the combo to stage a comeback on this pick.
This is ridiculous. This map is ridiculous. This just... Your hand has to be on fire right now. Like, what am I watching? That noob guy and Rexy is pulling through some pretty huge combos in that extremely difficult section, and I mean, props to them. That noob guy then missing on almost absolutely nothing right afterwards. I mean, their hands are probably dying. I don't blame them. Rexy's as well following up with a break of his own. This lead from Indonesia is already way too large for South Korea to start to mount a comeback, especially with no combo on the board. So a great pick from Indonesia, and I mean, those accuracies are pretty damn insane.
Reminder that for the OWC showcase 2 years ago for this map, Red Pixel went and SS'd it for the replay, just as a quiet reminder about that fact. A little bit messed up. Yeah, solid win for Indonesia. I don't think we expected much different on this pick, given how Double Time 3 went and how relentless this map is. So, par for the course, it seems like, on these types of speed maps in this matchup in particular. South Korea with a bit of an uphill battle at the moment, looking to probably pick this Hard Rock 1 at this point, right? I think that's probably where they go. Both other Hard Rocks banned out by Indonesia. They clearly don't want to play the mod. They're going to go with Free Mod 2 instead, however. Okay. Slightly different pick than what we might have been thinking.
Yeah, Free Mod 2, I mean... Yeah, this isn't the AR8 one, is it? I'm not too familiar with this map. If you don't mind filling me in a little bit on how this map kind of plays out.
Sure.
Oh,
so
LMT.
This is the AR9 CS4 free mod in this pool. 220 VPM map by LMT. This is basically all either flow aim jumps, like super wide angle flow aim jumps, or polygonal jumps, lots of square jumps in this map. Very few bursts in this map. There's a lot of like kind of weird looking sliders in this pick as well, but nothing too ridiculous in that regard. It really largely does come down to whether your players are comfortable on that either hard rock flow aim or AR9 hidden flow aim jumps at 220 VPM. So a really, really high density and a very awkward sort of map to play.
I just want to point out too, on that No Mod 5 we just saw, Rexy is actually getting 15 100s and Doomsday Fanboy is sitting on 11 with a few 50s alongside that. So very, extremely impressive performances from those two players, specifically on the accuracy side of things. Very low amount of 100s, especially when we're looking at some of these players in the lobby getting around 100 of them. So nothing to scoff at, and I mean, a couple of these players, absolute speed, stamina demons. And it was interesting to see Guzrua come in for that one, replacing Tofinim after Tofinim's performance on DT3. I'm wondering why Guzrua wasn't in for that DT3 initially. I'm not sure if that maybe was just like a BPM kind of wall for him or what it really was, but he did pretty damn well on that No Mod 5. He was sitting at around 95, 96% accuracy, so...
Yeah, definitely a little bit interesting. Maybe they could have pulled out a breakpoint on the Double Time 3 if he were in. Maybe he's just not comfortable on the BPM or wasn't there at that point in the match either. I mean,
yeah.
You never know. But regardless, going into this one, basically all aim on this map, and I kind of like that from South Korea, given what they've gone for so far, right? I mean, they have one No Mod 2. That is really the one pick that they have found victory on so far. The No Mod 4, unfortunately, not going their way just at the very end of the map. And so I think picking into more of this really wonky flow aim stuff is probably solid for them at the moment. I do think eventually, though, you want to go in to something like the Hard Rock 1. Given, look at the mods right now. Double hidden for Indonesia, and then double Hard Rock plus a hidden for South Korea. Not sure why there's the extra hidden on worst Hard Rock player, if he's just more comfortable on this map with hidden or what. But that is not a necessary mod. You can see Indonesia just double hidden, no hard rocks at all, which is completely fine under the tournament rules.
Yeah, I can respect this free mod 2 pick from South Korea, to be honest, because looking at last week's stats as well, we've got South Korea with 2.7 and 2.8 million on free mod 1 and free mod 2 respectively, so really comfortable on these free mods. But that's not the point right now, is we've got a double reset on the side of South Korea as I'm talking about that. Pain and Doomsday Fanboy are gone, and we now have the combo advantage on the side of Indonesia. And accuracy is looking matched pretty much both ways, but now a double reset for Indonesia, and that combo advantage is going to go straight back over to South Korea as worst hard rock player. I was going to say Timmy's hold that FC, but there he goes, that noob guy now. He's going to be doing a truckload of work for Indonesia here.
And at this point, I think you maybe even say that this map is over. Doomsday Fanboy with another reset for South Korea, Pain with another reset. That noob guy, yeah, does find the drop, but it's just worst HR player versus both Dito and Krez on the quote-unquote supporting combos right now with a 200,000 score lead for Indonesia, and this is looking like a 5-1 at this moment for Indonesia, looking very, very solid across tons of different picks so far. Nearly 800k for that noob guy and 630k for Krez as well on the hidden for Indonesia on that pick. Very, very solid run on that map.
Yeah, what a performance from that noob guy there. That's at 800k. That's very impressive stuff with the one miss. Krez following not far behind with that S rank. Just the one slider break, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, on the precipice of being an FC as well. So, very, very impressive scores from Indonesia. I'm going to be taking that break point as we now move back over to their pick. And I mean, they have a chance to close this one out nice and early before SK even get, a chance to step into the match. They've only got that 1 point. And as we were talking about earlier, I think it was really important for them to get some of their early picks on the board, just with how dominant Indonesia look on paper on a lot of these maps.
Yeah, scary thing for me is that the whole DT pool is still up, and Nomad 6 is also still up for Indonesia at the moment. Kind of already seen exactly what South Korea does on these free mods. They just go double hard rock, and maybe a hidden on worst hard rock player, but that's about it. The free mod pool also looking equally attractive, I think, at this point for Indonesia, especially something like Go Berserk in free mod 3 looking like a very, very solid pick for them at the moment. They kind of have their run of the board with a lot of these picks right now. I think you're really looking for South Korea, if they do make it through this pick, to go into something like the Hard Rock 1, given the heavy emphasis that they have had for Hard Rock and that Indonesia has had away from that Hard Rock toward Hidden instead, even on the free mods. They're going to have to make it through DT2 first, though. Existence by Soundholic.
Yeah, a good pick from Indonesia. I mean, they could have gone multiple ways with this. They could have gone for one of the hidden favored free mods and banked on the fact that it's going to be easier for them to get those higher combos against the hard rocks on the side of South Korea. They could have gone into that no mod 6, hoping to abuse that kind of gimmick skill set that Indonesia sort of possess. And, obviously with the hidden 3 ban from SK, it was an option, but they're going to stick to the roots and they're going to go for DT2. Our stamina DT map, very finger control intensive.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday played between Countryless West and China as well in the losers bracket. And this map, I think, is a pick where you start to fall out of, okay, whichever team is speed favored wins this, and into, okay, yes, it's still speedy, it is still fast at 232.5 BPM, but if you are a solid finger control team, you have a really solid chance of winning this pick anyway. We saw China win both DT2 and DT4 up against Countryless West. Countryless West being one of the single best speed teams in the tournament overall, and China definitely not that sort of team. But because these picks in DT2 and DT4 are both very focused on finger control, this one in particular, the double spam, they were able to come out on top. Maybe we see something similar for South Korea, and that's what I'm hoping we see as we load into this one. Doomsday Fanboy, Gusrua, and Spectre in once again on the speed pick for South Korea, up against Tito, Fuma, and Rexys for Indonesia.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe it's a stretch here. Maybe it's a stretch, but South Korea's only map they took was No Mod 2, if I'm not mistaken. And, I mean, hey, this is streamy. It's not super high BPM, so maybe there's still light at the end of the tunnel for South Korea, and maybe they can get a breakpoint on the board here. And, you know, if they follow it up with a good pick of their own, we could be looking at a 5-3, but we're going to have to wait and see how they do on this one. Not starting off very great with that very early break there from Spectre, but shouldn't be too detrimental.
Early break from Dito does match that break out of Spectre for the time being. Dito really not on great accuracy at the moment as well, down at 91, 92% ac right now. Same for Fuma, hovering around 93 at the moment. Same for Rexy's as well. So the accuracy across the board for Indonesia on this pick, not what you really want to see on your own pick. Spectre and Dito do match trades once again. So it is 2 full combos to 2 for either team. No, actually, I think we missed a break from Fuma. So Rexy's left alone up against Gusrua and Doomsday Fanboy here. The only FC for Indonesia right now.
Oh my god, I could hear the double tapping from Dito on that last stream there before the break.
Yeah.
He's in that first slot, so hearing his hit sounds, that was pretty funny. He's sitting on that 89% B rank, so struggling a little bit on the stamina side of things, it appears. With that double tapping. But as SK, they're doing pretty damn well on what's looking like to be a breakpoint right now. Gusrua and Doomsday Fanboy holding onto those FCs. A 97% as well from Gusrua. He's no slouch right now.
Yeah, and this is kind of the quote-unquote trouble with this pick for speed teams, right? Is that it's not really solely a speed map. You have a lot of other stuff going on in this pick besides just mash the bursts and don't miss aim like you had in No Mod 5, right? Like, you actually have to have finger control. You need to be able to transition from a lot of these doubles and quads into the longer streams that this map does have sprinkled throughout. And it seems like South Korea is, on the whole, handling that kind of map far better than Indonesia. We do see a break from Spectre, but not going to matter here. Dito and Fuma both reset. Gusrua and Doomsday Fanboy also resetting here. Rexy still has a full combo. Is this really going to be enough at the end of the map? I don't think his AC is high enough.
It's going over pretty quickly. Oh my god, wait. Is there a chance? We're looking at under 100k now. Rexy's, he's holding onto this FC. It's going. Oh my god, there's no way they close out the match like
no
this.
Shot.
Flicker. There it is.
Oh my god.
No shot Rexy's. For Indonesia, pulls them over the finish line, kicking and screaming. The 94% FC for Rexy's, a 1 million just shy of. What a score from him, and a heartbreaking choke from SK to drop those 2 huge combos right at the end. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking indeed, but I mean, very, very solid overall performance from Indonesia throughout that match. That was a really interesting match, honestly, between those two teams. Indonesia just kind of outclassing SK, frankly, on a lot of these picks, though. Just popping off on the No Mod 4, doing really well on the Free Mod 2 as well, and completing the 6-1 in this matchup. Not letting anybody forget, really, why Indonesia is the team who took down Germany in that tiebreaker match last weekend, right? This is a team that is strong enough to beat Germany. You're going to have to bring your A game versus them, and unfortunately for South Korea, it just was not enough this weekend.
Yeah, I think Indonesia, very, very underrated. I think they have been for a little while now. I hope they can start to kind of build that status, because they don't deserve to be underrated. I think this team is... I mean, they're insane. Like, some of the players in Indonesia are absolutely insane. I think it's worth noting in this match specifically that on pretty much every single map besides the No Mod 2, which is what South Korea took, and that final map we just saw, Indonesia just looked more consistent all round, and they just had better scores, just better medians in general on their side. And the accuracies as well. I mean, they were just looking more comfortable, more dominant. Besides that one hero performance there from Rexy's, where I think SK were looking a bit more consistent, but the hero performance came through and they closed it out. But yeah, just looking dominant all around, and it was a really, really great showing from them. They looked very prepared.
Yeah. Very, very solid stuff there for Indonesia. I think that's going to be it for the moment. We do have a full day of matches ahead of us, however, here at the 3-Digit World Cup. You can stick around on the stream, and in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to be starting up with Japan versus Poland, I believe in the losers bracket, followed up by Germany versus the UK and Sweden versus Brazil. All other matches today in the losers bracket. Definitely a lot of interesting ones. However, a lot of strong teams left up here. The UK coming off of a win versus the United States in last week's loser bracket. And Brazil, the projected winner by a lot of people, knocked down to the losers bracket early on in this tournament and storming their way up through it. So don't want to miss those matches. Stick around. In about 10 minutes, again, we'll be starting up with the next match on our roster, which is Japan versus Poland. Thank you all for watching. Congrats to Indonesia for earning a spot in the top 3. And we'll see you all in about 10 minutes.
Take care.